Hello and welcome to the Tit for Tat podcast from myself, Sam.
And me, Alex.
We're talking mostly nonsense about our favourite music and artist. Thank you and hope you enjoy listening to today's episode. Okay, so welcome back to Tit for Tat podcast. Today we're going to be discussing, we had a think, didn't we, about sort of different music, what we was going to do sort of next, and I think we had an album in particular that we wanted to discuss about, but I think we've looked at the year as a whole and thought, God, that's such a good year for music. And when I say a good year for music, I mean a lot of albums that are important, I think, for modern music came out that year. So without us even thinking what albums were like two that we're going to put together, we thought we'd maybe break down possibly what albums we could each bring to the table, see if they're the same. They might be, but our favourites from this year, and that's 2001. I think it was a big year for music. How old was you in 2001, Al?
6,
yeah, so I was 5.
Quick maths.
And I think, like I said, I don't know, I look back at this year, especially an album that I'm thinking of, I don't know if you are, but it was a big period, wasn't it? And I think a lot of music, the whole sort of scene sort of changed with music after you come out of that Britpop era, grunge before that, and the Manchester stuff. I think albums were all over the place then, and we'll probably go into that now. Have you got any thoughts? Or
Yeah, so I was thinking of 3 albums in particular, which I'll go. Discovery,
yeah,
Daft Punk.
Yeah. Oh, before you do that, so we've each brought 3 to the table, haven't we? And if we were going to say them, what's your third album? Is that Discovery?
Okay, go on. Yeah, I was jumping the gun. A lot of people would probably be unhappy, as Daft Punk seems to have a major following, but I'll go Discovery.
Okay, my third.
Yeah,
my third would be Gorillaz album.
Nice, good pick.
Yeah.
Second, I'm going to go White Blood Cells.
Oh, White Blood Cells.
By the White Stripes.
Oh, I mean, it's not my favourite White Stripes album, but I know what you mean in terms of what that probably did for like that sort of scene, that garage rock sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it was a massive album. Obviously they went on to do bigger things, with the next one I think Elephant being even bigger, but I do think what White Blood Cells did was major in music.
Yeah.
And you say not the biggest, but I think some major songs on it.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. We'll explore that a little bit more. And what was your number one album from 2001?
Gotta be Strokes, is this it?
Yeah, that's mine as well. And I thought that would be the case. I mean, you can't say enough about that album, and I think that whole indie scene sort of really developed from this album, if I'm being honest. I mean, you look at the bands who have said they were influenced by that album, and really for the sort of American rock and the indie sort of scene, that is just revolutionary, isn't it?
Oh, massively. And I think it brought back a lot of that New York scene that was, they've always had them great bands coming out, and I think Strokes were...
Are the Velvet Underground from New York?
Yeah. So I think sort of following in that pattern, and then there's been loads of stuff that's come out, and I think the Strokes definitely fit that New York bill.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Julian Casablancas' voice is just
unreal. And I think them being on, they were signed to Rough Trade, and I don't know if that was just UK or there, but obviously then Libertines were then on Rough Trade and stuff, and obviously Rough Trade prior to that was massive with the Smiths and stuff, and I think it got, a bit more behind again then when Strokes sort of led that, and then Libertines and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. And I know Alex Turner, for instance, the Arctic Monkeys, said that's one of the most influential sort of bands for them growing up and getting into that. Because I mean, when did Arctic Monkeys come out? Was that 2005?
Yeah, 2006. I think was the first album.
Yeah, but they had that sort of who they.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think if I always look at music, and I always have this thing of what else has it influenced outside of the music, and you look at fashion. I mean, look how we were dressing in like 2014 in our skinny jean drain pipes and that. I think the catalyst for that was the Strokes.
Yeah,
we're trying to get a leather jacket off people or a denim jacket and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because I think, like you mentioned the Libertines already. I think that sort of level of influence. I think that certainly sort of propelled the indie scene in the UK, didn't it?
100%, and I think it gave that sort of underground sound back, that sort of not very polished again, and a bit more energy to the music.
Yeah,
that the Strokes definitely had. I mean, and also speaking of the Strokes, they've just come back out with a new song, haven't they? So I think us doing it now is an apt time.
It might not be though, because it's not got some good feedback on it, has it? No, it's probably not the best work, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think musically it's great. I think what's got it is the auto tune, hasn't it, on his voice.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
again, which leading on to another point, has that come from his work with Daft Punk on Random Access Memories and stuff?
Yeah, true. I like that song as well. I think that's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a
what's
really
it called?
good
That
song.
one?
Oh god, I've got to sing it together, and I'm not. I'm not doing that.
No. Okay, well, let's go back to our third pick. So you had Discovery, and I had the Gorillaz. But let's talk a little bit, because we both had Discovery, didn't we? Why do you think this is such a big album in 2001?
I just think it was a massive thing, game changer in music. I think electronic music has always sort of done that, where it develops, and I think around that time was a massive development for it. And I just think, like, you listen to, like, I mean, the sampling on it, like, you take One More Time.
Yeah.
What party have you been to where you don't play that and it just, like, everyone's up to it? I just think they grab your attention so much. The use of, like, vocoders and everything, I just think is amazing.
Yeah. Have you ever had that Daft Punk app?
No.
You can do the sample. Oh my god, it's amazing. It is so good. They've got an app. They've got about 6-7 songs, and like that harder work, better, faster, stronger. You've got the pads for each little bit of that, so it's like work it.
No way! You gotta do that.
It's
That's
class.
so cool.
And you have it for One More Time as well, and you're pressing all the buttons to do the samples of it. It's really cool. But yeah, it's massive, and it's similar to the first album, but a very different direction for them, isn't it? Because you'd say it's more.
I'd say it's more polished. I think is the word.
And I think it's probably more in the pop culture sort of environment, because I think there was a very sort of acid house sort of band out in a lot of ways.
Yeah, influencing obviously that French sort of techno house scene, which is massive. But I just always think, I mean, like I've already just said it a minute ago, but their use of sampling and what they do for that is just outstanding. And I think the whole thing that surrounds Daft Punk as the band, and people watch them with the helmets, and they're not sort of, you know, they come and go a lot and haven't, you know, it's not like they go on massive tours. I mean, if you listen to like it's called Alive 2007, like the live album that they've done, it's unreal.
Yeah. No, it's a really good album. I mean, I love Digital Love on that album. I love the. Did you ever watch the cartoon anime film that they did of that whole album? It's really good. The music video for that's brilliant. But I love that song. I love, like, there's so many elements to Digital Love that I think it just layer on layers, just like brilliant as the song progresses. Because you've got, like, you know, it's obviously very sort of like technical sort of, like, you know, instrument parts and stuff, and it's very like MIDI keyboards and stuff. But then you kind of get to like the end of the song, and they've got like the guitars and stuff on it, and I think it's so cool, and I love the guitar solo on it. They obviously, like, the vocoder sort of nature on the guitar as well. It sounds like a vocal melody.
It is so good now. And I think one point that you just mentioned there was, you mentioned the anime. I think what we're dealing with, obviously you just mentioned you brought Gorillaz.
Yeah.
We're talking visually. I think is such, obviously Strokes didn't do any of that, but again, how visually striking they were to me when I first saw them. Each band we brought has that visual element of, like, oh my god, you know, you care about the art through every aspect of it.
And that's probably something big that we'd probably say now, I think, and like you mentioned, that's probably a good thing to discuss with Discovery and the Gorillaz. I think obviously such a massive difference from what Damon Albarn's ever done before with Blur, isn't it? To go to this. I mean, I probably the the age of 4 or 5. My dad's always loved Blur and loved Damon Albarn. I probably knew the Gorillaz before I knew Blur, and that was like slightly later. But I couldn't stop listening to Clint Eastwood when I was a kid. I loved the music video.
The music video is one of the best ever.
Yeah,
it's so good. I think what I love about that album is the playfulness as well in some of the songs. Are just like it's just an outstanding album, but didn't make my top 3. Mainly because I think by the time I'd noticed them a bit more, I think Demon Days was sort of where I, being a massive Mondays fan as well, and you seen Shaun Ryder's head in the music video for Durr, and you've got Dirty Harry. It's just on Feel Good Inc. But anyway, I digress. On the wrong album.
But that's it though, as you say. I think obviously probably Demon Days to Gorillaz is probably what Discovery is to Daft Punk, isn't it?
Yeah, actually.
And I think obviously, but I do think in terms of like British culture, I think these 2 albums, Discovery and Gorillaz, I think the impact that's had in music, because I think we know that the 90s there was a lot of R&B and sort of and dance music and stuff that did take over the scene probably late, but I do think a lot of the sort of pop culture was more stuff like the Spice Girls and boy bands and stuff like that kind of got really popular.
Yeah, I think
in that late
we were
period.
sort of in that era, weren't we? Coming out of like Britpop and stuff. And
I think it's a bit of a confusing time, and I think you look at 2001 as a sort of year, and you've got like maybe more of the dancey stuff, like the Discovery brings to the table. Then you've got the Gorillaz that's just like, I mean, Damon Albarn's just gone from something where he's like the peak of Britpop, hasn't he, and just sort of took a break from Blur and just released this massively different sort of sound.
Yeah, and I think what you've got to say about Damon Albarn is like how musical of a person he is. Like you can see that it just means so much to him, and it's like any genre, anytime he'll be working on it.
Yeah, and I think as you say, like I mean, you've never really seen that's my first sort of thing I can think of where like a band was more of a project than like a standard band.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't the whole thing when they came out like he was meant to be hidden a bit.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And I think like getting like different rappers, and obviously that massively evolved as they went on, where it kind of became a bit of a theme to have such a body like featuring on it, like De La Soul and stuff like that. As
then they got to Snoop Dogg and stuff, didn't they? Plastic Beat.
But like they had Bobby Womack on it, didn't they? They had Lou Reed, and I was at Glastonbury, and I was very fortunate enough to be that year because the Edge pushed thingy U2 off the stage, so it meant that U2 couldn't play Glastonbury, so the Gorillaz stepped in, and do you know what? It was crazy how many people he got on stage there, and I think that's what the Gorillaz is. It's this project that's just ever evolving with like a million different people. I know we're probably getting away from this album in particular that we're talking about. But I think what I'm trying to say is the impact that because that's how that project started, and more artists wanted to get involved with working with Damon Albarn, because before that he was just a guy in Britpop, wasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And I think back then obviously you don't have social media and things like that, so you really look like, to see it now, you could go on Instagram and you could scroll through a million reels and people are doing so many amazing things. But you look at this music back then, like it's so fresh and new that, it's just a crazy one. But as you say, we keep going off it, and I think one thing that will bring us back is, after we've both just mentioned Strokes, is this I think we could talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's go briefly on White Blood Cells first, and let's talk about the White Stripes in general, because this is the second album, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it might be the third. I think they did one very underground. Then this. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm sure it might be the third. It was definitely the one that hit the mainstream.
Yeah, I think this one sort of probably broke them internationally, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. And I think with this again, back to the visual thing, fell in love with a girl. the Lego music
Yes,
video where they're
yeah.
building it all up into like that is just
Yeah, God, I forgot that.
sensational, and I think just that attention to detail and doing something outside the box is great. But yeah, I think the way the album starts, it gives you that. It's all across everything. It's got that very bluesy thing going on. I
Yeah.
think you can tell its influences straight away. Zeppelin,
Yeah.
Beatles. No, it's got that 60s, 70s.
But I think the key with this album, that's the time when they probably, like, obviously, I think first song, like you say, is very blues, and is Dirt Leaves on the Ground.
Yeah.
I think what's great about this is it probably, which is very difficult to do when there's only two members in a band, but I think they sort of have a fully developed sound by this point, where a lot of it before was...
Yeah, I think they were
You
trying
know.
to. I think they've changed away. I think they were even more bluesy sort of beforehand.
Yeah.
And then they definitely found the sound on this album, and you know, there's. I mean, Hotel Yorba.
Yeah.
I just think that's one of the best songs ever. I love. I'm someone with a very bad attention span as well, so I think the way that every song, pretty much for the majority, seems to be 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Year in, year out.
I suppose it's hard when you've only got two instruments to make them any longer,
Yeah,
really, innit?
true.
There's no bass hook going on. is
Yeah.
there?
Apart from you saying that, but I mean, obviously an album later, but you know, Seven Nation Army, which he does on his guitar through like
Yeah.
octave pedals, I believe, and stuff.
Yeah. All we're doing here is divert into different albums,
Yeah.
but I think the key that we're talking about here is just that impact that 2001 has had, because I think, like we said, we're gonna obviously touch in greater detail our favourite album that we both sort of mentioned there, which I'm glad we did, because I don't know, special mention to some other albums now, I think, because I was doing research in 2001 and I couldn't believe the amount of albums that came out this year, and a big one for me was Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park.
Great album.
Yeah, which that's the second band I saw live, Linkin Park, and honestly
They were so big. I think in like our era at school, and like
Oh, God,
you just you know, you've got teenage angst going on without any real problems.
Yeah,
Like this.
yeah, and I mean, you know, obviously I think they went massive, didn't they, when Numb came out, but on this album you've obviously got In the End on it,
Yeah, but
you've got
this
Paper
was-
Cut, you've got so many great songs on that, and that was probably one album that stood out to me, that it was nearly on the list, and I know Limp Bizkit, I think they brought an album out this year as well, 2001. I can't remember which album that was, but they'd been a little bit before that. But I think Linkin Park really, for me, set that new metal scene up. I think that's when it went
I
mainstream.
definitely agree with that. And yeah, and I think the big thing there is, you know, you'll have music purists who don't believe in bringing it to the mainstream, but I think albums that cross over,
Yeah,
it's nothing on being a sellout or showing commercial success. You've just written something that's that good that it's going to do that, and you know, the everyday listener will love it, who perhaps hasn't on, like, you know, the Limp Bizkit stuff again. I can't name that album, so I guess that's disregarded.
I was
personally.
definitely more of a Linkin Park fan than Limp Bizkit.
100%.
I love Chester Bennington's voice as well. I thought it was brilliant. And like Mike Shinoda, honestly, I went through a period of pretending I didn't like Linkin Park, but now I've got a bit older. I can finally admit I still like them tunes. I still really
It's
enjoy them.
mad that there's albums and bands that people sit around and pretend that they don't like.
Oh God! I mean, I think, I don't know about you, but when I was in sort of the 2008 area at high school, I was listening to a lot of like pop punk albums. That was my thing, and then
100%.
I tried to, by the time I was probably 15, get away from all that music, because I thought, no, like, you know, that I like the indie stuff. I want to distance
You've got to
myself.
prove you're cool and what.
Yeah, but then now I feel like it's really cool again to
So like, wasn't
it.
there a Blink-182 album out?
Yeah, Take Off Your
2001?
Pants and Jacket came out that year.
Amazing. I could spend 2 hours talking about
Well,
that.
why did that not make you 3?
Mainly, and that's a very good question actually, because I think I was looking at that all-round impact thing,
Yeah.
and one, it isn't my favourite Blink album.
No.
So
What's on that? Is First
put
Date
it
on
in-
that one?
Yeah, First
I love the music
Date,
video
Rock
for that.
Show,
Rock Show. God, I love the music video. They did the best music videos, didn't they?
Online Songs was on it,
Oh,
Roller Coaster.
yeah. Enema of the State's probably a better album.
Yeah,
though,
Enema of the
isn't it?
States. I'm the self-titled. I quite like.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. No, I just love Adam's song and stuff like that. I love that.
Enema is the best.
Yeah, like Party Song as well. I love that 'cause I think
Yeah.
that song sort of captures it all. Again, we're doing albums that we've
We
not
digress.
picked.
We should call this podcast "We Digress."
Yeah, we do that a lot. No, maybe we needed to just focus on two.
Two.
But no, but as you say, I think going back to some of the other albums with mentioning Linkin Park Hybrid Theory, we've got the Jay-Z Blueprint as well that came out, which
Right, chucking over in the mix. Let's keep going.
no, but honestly,
Thinking I'm released an album, that yeah.
Did you want to go?
Yeah. God, now I'm trying to come up with another joke.
Take off your pants and jacket now. No.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, like people talk about that being one of the greatest rap albums of all time. I must admit, I'm going back to Linkin Park. I'm more familiar with the Joined Up album that they did. With like, you know, obviously I know that songs are from both that, and that's probably why it was 2001 sort of thing. But that was massive, like, you know, that collaboration, and I think Jay-Z. I think obviously hip hop had a massive thing in the 90s, isn't it? The late sort of 90s of music. And I think for that, I was quite surprised. I thought this was a 90s album, The Blueprint. So I was quite surprised when I was looking and doing some research for 2001 that was on there. And yeah, I think it's just, it's mind-blowing, the albums that came out. There's obviously Radiohead as well with Amnesiac, which I must admit, it's not my favourite, but a lot of pure head Radiohead fans would probably
Pure head or pretentious. Which you choose the word in there.
Well, I mean, a lot of Radiohead fans would say Kid A and Amnesiac are their favourites.
Yeah, of course they would.
I'd argue differently.
Just,
Well, just separately from this, what would you say is your favourite Radiohead album?
The Bends.
The Bends.
Without a doubt.
Not OK Computer. No.
Should we do an episode on that?
I think that'll be the next. Yeah. It's definitely coming up, that one. But yeah, going back to our albums, what if we was going to do? We've got 6 and a couple of crossover. What are we saying? Make the top 2 out of our albums.
Top 2 for me is This It, obviously. Takes the one spot. And then, White Blood Cells underneath that.
White Blood Cells, would ya?
But if I'm to do all round, what would I leave here and listen to? Is This It? I just think is an exceptional piece.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with you. I was watching a TV show a few months ago. I can't even remember what it was called now. It was nothing great.
As you can tell, we're great with our facts, people. So we know everything we talk about like the back of our hand.
Well, you know, you got to keep it natural, haven't you? No, but I was watching this TV show, and it was set in, I want to say it was set in sort of 2003-04, but anyway, Is This It? The self-titled song came on, and I just immediately after watching that was like, I need to listen to this album all over again, because I mean, if we start that album from start to finish, it is unbelievable, isn't it?
It is. There's few albums I think are that good.
Do you know the thing that ruins them for me? Is the little rich kids. That's the only thing that was disheartening for me to find out.
I know, because you look at this, I've had this with like Beastie Boys and stuff, like you look at this New York scene and you're like, God, working class kids, they've got up, they've done it because they had the time to.
Yes. Yeah, because I think, is Julian Casablancas' dad like some like fashion designer
massive songwriter?
Yeah, of course. I was gutted when I found this out, and it shouldn't make a difference because music's music, but I don't know, I just had this image of them being rough and ready sort of stuff.
Yeah, this is what does me about like rich people. They make themselves look rough and ready, and surely like the rest of us should go, why are you trying to look like this? Just come out in a 3-piece suit. Yeah,
and I think the Libertines are a bit similar to that as well, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, probably. I think there's a lot when you look into it.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I don't think the Libertines are to that extent where they're like wealthy, but I don't think they were. as Liam Gallagher once said, "Posh boys on drugs," wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like.
Yeah,
but maybe that's the northern
there was,
jealousy.
probably, and I think there was a lot around that sort of scene, wasn't there? And people trying to make things. But as I said at the top of the podcast, like they influence the way people dress and
Yes.
stuff. Because luckily, I think I only found out the money they had a lot later on.
Oh God, I think my barber told me actually. I'd never.
As every factoid, go
Yeah,
to someone's barber.
yeah. They tell you some good ones, but yeah, I remember that. But it doesn't take away from this album. I'm not saying that. I'm just
No,
being
not at all. We're not being
facetious about it.
haters of posh people.
No, definitely not. But I do think like I always joke with Regan a lot. Like she'll play an artist.
Regan being Sam's fiance, for
sorry,
those
yeah.
he might not know. We can't just name drop and not explain it.
And by the way, Regan is a girl.
I'm probably the only listener,
Yeah.
so it might
So,
not
yeah.
matter to you more.
No. But yeah, I always joke with her about the fact that I think there's a lot of music that comes out, and I listen to it, and she'll go, "Oh, there's this new artist, and you know, it's this singer songwriter, and she might be on a piano or something." And I always go, "She go Brit School," and 9 out of 10 when we Google it afterwards, they did go Brit School.
Brit School. Do you know why I always remember there was Brits being on? I can't remember why. It was the year Arctic Monkeys won a lot. I think it was like after Favourite Worst Nightmare.
Yeah.
And they got on and like they made a joke because every artist who got up was like waving at Brit School kids and going, "We've been there." And then they made a joke like looked into the audience, go, "Oh my God, is that Mackenzie over there?" and like pretending they went. I just felt that was a cool little nod.
Yeah, and I think that's where it first got drawn to my attention was the Arctic Monkeys. If I'm being
Yeah,
honest,
because
with you.
before it, I just thought, why do we keep waving to these bunch of kids in the front?
Yeah, and it sounds bad, and it probably sounds a bit shallow because you know these guys are talented in their own rights, and just, you know, fair enough. But sometimes you do like the story, and I think it comes from how music in the past has always been for me. I feel like, you know, like we've obviously covered the Stone Roses and stuff, and people like the Lars, and even going straight back to the Beatles and stuff. I've always felt, and rightly or wrongly, I've always felt music's been a working class thing because of the themes of the music.
Not even necessarily working class. I just think now I think the word nepotism gets thrown out a lot, and what
Rightly and wrongly sometimes.
rightly and wrongly, but the bit I do dispute is that the nepo, a lot, I'll call them nepo babies, they'll disagree, is the like, how can I be a nepo baby? My dad was only like a lawyer. And it's like, well, you still, if you've been given that, they mean it in terms of, he wasn't in the industry, I shouldn't be called a nepo baby.
Yeah.
But if you look at, if somebody else can support your life and you get on with it and you've had that time to just go and write songs and not, and you get lessons off everyone, you are a bit.
Yeah.
Not to be bitter, but...
No, you're right, I think, because I think, like, a lot of musicians don't potentially have the freedom to just, that's what they do full time.
Recognise it, own your own thing. If I was an Nepo baby, and necessarily they hadn't been in music, my parents, but they were rich enough and I didn't have to work and earn my own living, I'd like to think I'd say it.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I wouldn't justify it by going, well, they didn't help me music.
Yeah.
Well, technically they did if they paid for everything.
Exactly,
so.
yeah, and there's so many artists you can probably touch on with that, and again, we've just massively digressed.
We have,
into
I'm
a
coming
rabbit
across
hole.
quite bitter now, but...
Well, we are going to be bitter, because, we both love music and want to be as successful as what these people are.
And somebody turned around to us one day after being in a band for years and said, get a job, which we had to go and do.
Yeah.
So Lola Young, if you're listening.
Yeah, I mean, that one's wild, because, I mean, she's had a lot of that Nepo baby stuff because of the whole... did an auntie write the Gruffalo?
Or something like that.
Yeah, and I do think because it's...
If my auntie had written the Gruffalo, I'm sure it would help me in some respect.
I know.
I'm sure I'd have a peg up in life.
I know what you're saying, but Christ, that might just be me, but my auntie doesn't do anything for me. I'm not a child.
Yeah, true. Maybe you've just that's it. Maybe you just heard her do it, but she went to Brit school as well.
She did go Brit school, yeah, which she
so
probably had
let's
a leg
just-
up that way.
Yeah, let's just draw the line somewhere.
Who else went
and
Brit
say-
school? Adele went, didn't she?
Adele went to Brit school.
And she does try to come across like she's some rough and ready southerner, doesn't she? Which these people still can be. Don't get me wrong, because they get this opportunity, but I think it's the manufacturism
And
of
yeah,
Brit
and
school.
I think at the end of the day, you know, we are saying all this, and I think we do love these people. Like, I
Oh,
do really
God,
like Adele's
so
music,
talented.
and her voice is amazing. And I think, you know, how could that not make it and be out there in
Yeah,
the world?
yeah.
And
Amy Winehouse.
Amy Winehouse, and the songs are amazing. So there's no disputing that. I just wish there was more honesty in music, but I don't get how you come out on stage and go, "I'm rich," by the way, and get on with it. But I do just think there's a lack of honesty. But again, we go back to the Strokes, and we thought they were of a certain class, and it isn't everything. I think what sort of put the class war into it a bit, it is that whole "When You Love Stone Roses," Happy Mondays, Oasis mention it, and you always get them people who we probably aspire to more, and you know, they're in a band room and they just worked hard, and people get to, you know, they happen to be great songwriters and work at the craft.
I think, like you say, though, I think what bothers me most is that they do, like, this is why we didn't know about the Strokes, is because they tried to portray themselves in a way that they're not saying that the working class, or however Americans would describe that situation, blue collar, white collar sort of stuff. But they are sort of teasing with it by the way they dress, and you know, the ripped jeans and the sort of stuff,
definitely.
the vintage.
And then, you know,
look.
we aspire to that and look at it, which to be fair, I think was great. We needed something
no,
like
I think
that,
I think it's super cool, and it's not like they've come out and said, "Oh, we're working." You know what I mean? It's not. They've never done that, but sometimes you do get annoyed by the tease of it, because sometimes they are like you mentioned before, they're sort of acting and betraying themselves to be like that to clearly fit the music scene.
Yeah, definitely. I love how we've gone from going on about "Is This It" to destroying Strokes.
Sorry,
we've really gone on a tangent.
No, okay, let's you're right. Let's bring it back to the album and how
I preferred it. Maybe that should just actually be our whole thing. Let's be just negative about music.
should we just rip all artists
Yeah.
to no, okay.
Apart from Sam Fender, I think he's
Is he working class?
yeah.
No.
It's a Geordie, mate.
Not necessarily me.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
That
don't
isn't
we-
me. Let's just say I'm not saying everyone from the north east
No.
is working class. That is.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Not starting that
That's
conversation.
not great.
No tangent.
Just
no.
glad Regans are on the listener.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the Strokes album and why we both put that as number one. I mean, let's start off with the basics, right? That album cover. I think that is just
It's
so
striking,
iconic,
isn't it?
innit?
You'd
Yeah.
notice that in any like record store. wouldn't
Oh
you?
God, yeah. I love that it's kind of minimalist, this black and white sort of look, and obviously what the picture is. It's out there, innit? It's the best way to say it.
It's what a record sleeve should be.
Yeah, God, I mean, I got that on vinyl just before Christmas, and it's a red vinyl as well, but it does annoy me, and this is for you, the Strokes, why it doesn't say side A or side B on either side of it. That annoys me.
And you know straight away, don't you, which side it is as soon as you don't hear that little
Yeah.
is this it spin up noise.
God. But yeah, that's perfect timing to go through the album track by track. Is this it? Well, what are your thoughts on when you first heard that song?
Is it? So I went to uni with a friend of mine, and he was I'd heard the big singles. He loved, and he really got me more into that deep dive. To be honest, more into Room on Fire and First Impressions.
Wow, okay.
Was like
Touch on
his. So I listened to them and I was like, obviously I'd heard Last Night, Someday. But yeah, so I listened to them. And, you know, he played me like Razor Blade off and so many great songs, and I was like, oh my God, like this must be peak. And then I went back through and heard Is This It by myself, and I was like, Jesus, this just takes it to another level. And this is where, you know, the Last Night was hiding on there, and the Someday, and just is this it as like the bass line,
Yeah.
everything is just perfection.
Oh God, I can't get too far away from that. I think Julian Casablancas has got one of the greatest voices.
100%. I think coming, I'd say next to Lou Reed in that New York scene. Not saying what I always like about music, and particularly with voices like Julian Casablancas and people like Lou Reed, is you feel like you can quickly aspire to sing like that, and it's got that attitude. It's got that great. He obviously, had that distortion on his voice, which I think even I can't remember, but I think he sang through an amplifier to get it.
Yeah.
And just the way it comes across, and the real, it's just something else.
Yeah. What's the next song after? Is This It? From A Great Style, I've gone blank on the song. Oh, yeah.
We'll have to get it up.
We'll keep talking. It's just because I always listen to that album, usually on a record, and just let it play through. I never think about the actual track listing on it. Obviously, I'll know all the tracks when you
I know,
say
it's one of them, and you play it, show it up, and then you go, oh, God, that's...
yeah.
Of course, it's that.
And it's just, it's just so good. What is the next song? Is it Take It or Leave It, or is that...
I thought that was
third
near
song?
the end.
Is it? Yeah, it could be, actually.
If we ever do get listeners, people will be going, it's this. The modern age.
Modern
of
age,
course.
oh my God, yeah, what a great... Sorry, guys, for everyone who's...
And one of my favourite Stroke songs. So,
yeah. It was just getting the order right, that was it.
yeah.
And we're tit for track here, so we need to get the order right.
Don't have the greatest memory either.
No, terrible with that. But yeah, oh my God, what a great song that is. And again, I love... And this is the theme for the majority of the album. I love them shouty bits, and I love how raw.
So
it
good.
sounds.
I mean, the interplay between the two guitar parts are just so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I love about this. I love the rawness of the guitars and things like that. I think that's that.
And wearing his Strat up high, like Albert Hellman Jr.
Yeah.
He had a white Strat.
Oh God, I mean, yeah, that's iconic, isn't it? And I always remember the music video for Last Night as well. It was just so iconic.
So good. It was that talk show like
Yeah.
vibe, wasn't it?
Again, that's kind of what their sound is as well, isn't it? It's that raw sort of 70s sort of like the Ramones
it's
and
so
stuff.
good. That's it. You bring punk into it.
Yeah. It's what's defined that you'd say probably the modern indie music.
100%. And again, you mentioned earlier Alex Turner's love for it, and there's that clip of him and Miles Kane.
Oh God, dancing to that gig. We
yeah,
didn't go to that gig. We were skint.
We couldn't afford it. Not Nepo babies over here.
Yeah. Oh but God, I mean, I think. Wow, I don't know. I think let's go to some of the influences that we think that sort of had. Obviously, Arctic Monkeys famously on that Tranquility Base Hotel. The first line of the first song is "I just wanted to be one of the Strokes."
Yeah. And I think that's such a major part in everything. It invigorated sort of the life into indie music again. It came back, and I think indie music for the years after that had a really good stint.
God, yeah. And I think like you look at like Kings of Leon came out with them. Was their first album? Was that wasn't 2001, was it? It was more 2003, maybe
2 or 3. But I think great album.
But I think this album meant that albums.
Oh,
like
it's a
Kings of
catalyst for
Leon,
so many things.
Yeah, I think that's what it created, because I think I think it's quite difficult for like indie music in America during that period beforehand to sort of, because we just had the Britpop era and things like that, to really sort of get popular over here.
Yeah, and on the whole, we're calling it indie music. Was it categorised as that back then as well? Do you know what I mean? Was it not? But were you just hearing a new cool band? Now it's like if we do something with guitars, you're like, they're an indie band.
Yeah.
And it's like people ask me, like, if I write a song, what kind of music do you write? Indie pop. Do you know what I mean? And you just go to it. Because it's the easiest way. But I guess maybe it wasn't, which makes it more exciting.
Yeah.
I guess that you're at the birth of this. Could be wrong. Again,
Yeah.
who knows? But
No, I think you're right, and I also love how, especially like if we go on the song Last Night, I love how that's obviously just American Girl, isn't it?
yeah,
they've openly
Tom Petty,
admitted.
American Girl. I mean, it just upstairs, innit?
Yeah, but it's so good, and I love that Tom Petty's not bothered by that.
Oh
at all
yeah,
as
why
well.
why would you be? Do you know what I mean? That's what music should be.
But then the Cortinas later on in the sort of it's going later on in like 2008 or whatever. Not 19 Forever was Liam Frey trying to learn how to play Last Night on the guitar. That's
Is
how
that
he wrote.
what it was?
Yeah.
So again, that's cool. So it does just show this.
The development of how songs
Yeah,
come
and
in.
the influence that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, and I love when a song's that iconic, and I think everyone who would probably get a guitar from that period would want to play that song, wouldn't they? 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
100%.
just
It's one of them. It's quite a punk song. It's quite easy to
yeah,
learn and to play,
yeah,
which I think is great. I think. Okay, so let's go through standout tracks, and I think. They're probably the obvious ones, but let's say hard to explain.
Oh,
I know we're going to go through it chronologically, but if we just pick out some of the best.
yeah. What was your favourite part about that song? Would you say?
Got a favourite part? Put me on the spot again.
Sorry,
you like doing that? I feel like there's a light that comes on there, like an interrogation light, and I've got to deal with it. Oh. All of it. I mean, that chorus is...
All of it.
All of it, yeah. Like Alan Partridge, the best of the Beatles.
Don't give me a lot to go on with all of it.
No, the chorus is great. I mean, I don't know what you wanted from me. You get a guitar at the start.
Yeah, or you could sing it. You can give that a go.
Nobody wants that.
Alright, okay. Okay, so we've got hard to explain. Let's have a look. I need to memorise that part. Oh, do you know what we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about Summer.
True, which is amazing.
That all you got to add there?
It is when I need a wee.
Okay, we'll pause there. So I think that takes us to probably the next song on this album, and we've already touched on about Alex Turner and Miles Kane before, but Barely Legal, I think that song on this album stands out massively for me. I love the intro to it and the vocals coming in straight away, like the and then going into
Oh yeah, it's so good. I think it's definitely one of the best on the. I mean, I say that about near enough everything.
But yeah, no, I think, like I said, you mentioned Alex Turner and Miles Kane, and that video of them, is it Finsbury Park, is it?
I think it was,
It is, yeah. And I just remember seeing that clip of them singing this song, like, word for word, and that's how you feel when you're listening to it, would you not say? Like,
oh yeah, definitely. It's such a good, straight up, just in your face song.
yeah.
Hits you straight away, and I think that's probably the biggest thing about this album. And I think, again, I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about White Stripes, is, I can't really focus for too long, and I think this is another album that sort of delivers on that. They're all 3-minute songs, get you in, get out of there.
Yeah, like the vocals on the majority of these songs come in quite punchy.
Come in quite quick,
they?
you're into the song, you're out, and I think a big thing is that makes you... I've always listened to a song, and if it's shorter and it's been amazing, is you listen and then you go, God, I've got to listen to that song again, and jump back in.
Yeah, and I find that with this album, and probably why, without the notes, I'm struggling to remember track for track, because I treat this album as almost like something to listen to throughout.
Yeah, you sort of switch off to what's coming next, you just know it's going to be a good song.
Yeah.
You don't have to know it.
And I always think, because I love when bands have a bit of a variety of a sound, and the songs maybe aren't so samey, but I think what works so well on this is that it is quite samey.
And you've got to think for a debut, you found your sound.
Yeah.
You
But they
played
found it
into
quickly,
that.
like the like I think like bands like Foals, it took them a while to establish their full sound. I think by the time they get to the third, you'd say a lot of bands get to their third album, don't you? Where they've like fully defined themselves as a band and what they want to do. Whereas I think with these guys, like straight off, and that is probably why they never reached the heights that this album did. Again, because of how good it is for a debut album. And it's probably just something that they didn't even realise. It was just the sort of momentum that they had while recording it.
Yeah, definitely. You capture like an energy and things like that.
Who produced this album?
Who did produce it? Very good question.
Is anyone well known?
Let's see if I can find it. I've not heard of him before. Gordon Raphael.
Gordon Raphael. Okay. But that's another thing that's strange because I think a lot. It's probably more of an American thing that, but with UK albums, it tends to be like the big 3 or 4 or 5 who do majority.
Yeah,
of
definitely.
albums.
And in the modern day, or was it Mick Jones from the Clash who did Libertines and stuff? So you
Yes.
bring in somebody you love to do it, maybe.
Yeah.
And we'll probably find out this Gordon Raphael's produced.
It might be massive, mate.
Turns-
Again, that's hard
Turns out
knowledge.
he's done every album we've brought today.
Did the Beatles have
Yeah, he
it? No, but this is it though, and that's probably something again across the ponds that we're not fully aware of for the music scene. But like, you immediately think of people like Rick Rubin and stuff, don't you? Doing most of the albums in America for that sort of music, and it's
It's
easy.
a big statement to make. Most of the albums in America, most of the albums, a lot of the albums we like.
A lot of the albums we like, but he's on everything, Rick Rubin, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's like you can't get away from him and his big beard, can you?
Yeah, true.
That's just an example. Who else is a big music producer for the indie sort of scene and rock sound? Is there any others in America that you can think of? It's Rick Rubin, isn't it?
Yeah,
See?
I guess Rick Rubin is the big one.
But no, going back to this album.
And hip hop actually, Rick Rubin.
Let's
Let's
see.
read all about Rick Rubin now. We've
Rick Rubin.
we've gone everywhere.
Should we do the best
We
album
just-
of Rick Rubin
yeah.
next? Yeah.
Which is Blood Sugar Sex Magic, but by Red Hot Chili's. Or Beastie Boys, licensed sale.
I'm going to be controversial here and say I'm not a big Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. That's a separate
We'll save
podcast.
that for another day.
But no, like I said, I think obviously the big songs that we know of this album, we've covered Someday and Last Night. I don't think we need to go over them songs. We know the influence they had. And do you think Last Night's the first song you heard by The Strokes?
I'd say so, yeah.
definitely.
Definitely off this album. I think probably Reptilia.
Ah, okay. Which is an
Might have been
indie
the-
classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we? No, we'll do this album. Then
Should
we'll go.
we? Should we cover all of the Strokes?
I just do that. I feel quite passionate about the Strokes, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
But maybe I'm not
right, yeah.
selling that because we spent 20-minute rant about them being rich boys.
Yeah, true.
But I do love them, and I think later on maybe we'll go a little bit more. But I think every album they've done's got at least a banger on it. Every album.
Definitely. Any bad songs on this album, would you say? And not bad songs necessarily, but least favourites. Any skippable tracks?
Do you know what? I don't. I don't actually think there is. It's funny because we've struggled to name the order of the album, but this is me going back to. It's an album that I feel like I have to listen from start to finish.
We've justified it now, and we've come up with we don't know the order because why should you? Because
No. But like, I mean, imagine going watching this band in 2001 when they were obviously promoting this album. They've just come out. It's for me. It'd be a concert where I'd want to hear that from track 1 to track 11. That's what I would want to hear.
And as I've said to you before, and I have said it on the podcast, depending on what order we release them in, but every good debut should have 11 tracks on it.
Controversial, but I like it. But I going back to your question of is there any sort of fillers and stuff? No, there might be stuff that I don't have much of a preference to listen to at the time. Like
I've got one.
Oh, okay then, go on.
Alone Together is the only dip.
I really like that song. I really like it. Yeah. I mean it.
Maybe it's because I put it in a good category, not great. Or
Should we go to the start to finish? Because I think Is This It is such a strong opener, and I think
one of the best.
I think all albums that you would define as like a great album has to have a strong first song and a strong last song, doesn't it? My dad always said to me that if a band has 3 or 4 pretty good songs on an album, it's a good album. But then I think to get that next level of like greats and like best of all time sort of albums, you're talking all the songs being good, aren't you? But I think the key defining thing for me is the first song's brilliant, the last song is, and I think it also has to capture a bit of a start and an end point, and I think this does. I think if you go from Is This It to Take It or Leave It, I think that really captures.
Yeah, 100%. And I think they're both great tracks. I think you know what album you're listening to, don't you? As soon as it starts,
Yeah.
and then when you get to the end, it does the same thing. You know you're listening to the last song.
Yeah, and I think Take It or Leave It, like I think what I going back to is this it the song and Take It or Leave It, is this it feels like a bit of a drag going through, and it's kind of letting you know where this album's going to take you, and then Take It or Leave It is very punchy, and it sort of ends on that punch.
Yeah, it's got that energy, hasn't
and
it?
I think like bands like, do you remember the Vaccines? I feel like they took that with their music, where it used to be a running theme, and it kind of put me off the Vaccines when I first heard. Every single song the Vaccines did ended with the da 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 da. Every single song ended like that, didn't it? And that's kind of what I feel like the Strokes sort of captured, and you probably got that from like the Ramones and people like that, with that sort of punky sort of American scene. But yeah, I love how this album starts, and then I think that's a brilliant song. And then going back to some of the others, like New York City Cops, for instance, I think it's a brilliant song.
Oh yeah, I think that's amazing. Yeah, each one. I know we're saying, you know, it's a theme and it's a certain way, but you can pick out each track.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Easily, like it doesn't have that samey to everything, even though everything's got the same tone,
Yeah.
the same way. There's something in it. You know, the melodies are very distinctive.
Yeah.
The lyrics are, the guitar playing is. It all sits within a box, but managing to escape from that. And I think that's what a great album does. And you know, we've mentioned Velvet Underground, and I think again, like the Velvet Underground and Nico album does a similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you've got your tones, you've got all that, but the way you can step in and out of it and still be unique within a certain sound is when you know you've found your sound and perfected it.
Who do you think's more? Double-handed question. Who do you think has more of an impact on music, the Strokes or the Velvet Underground?
Good question.
Because I think the simple answer would be the Velvet Underground, but is that a bit of the opposite of recency biased, where is that because they come from that era of the...
Yeah, and again, and I guess with Velvet Underground, I think when Strokes came out, everyone probably just went, yes, this is exciting, let's jump on that, young people listening. I guess when Velvet Underground came out late 60s, you know, there was a lot of people wanting to move, you know, thinking, oh god, this is too out there, or this isn't for me, you know, the lyrical content is crazy, and I feel like it took probably to the 70s for Lou Reed's genius probably to get recognised.
Yeah, and brilliant as it was, but if you was doing it just from like the simple bones of their music and their styles, I think Julian Casablancas is probably a better singer than Lou Reed.
Oh, it's a thinker. I'm gonna have to go on with that.
You're gonna have to go on with that one. I can't put you on the spot and give an answer.
No, I think what they've both got is that attainable. You know, you listen and you go, oh my god, could I do this?
Yeah.
Until I realised I'm not bad at singing that no, I couldn't.
No, yeah.
But had I been slightly better, I'd listen and go, oh my god, I could.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just putting out there. I think what we're trying to get at is this album, and this is why it's our favourite from 2001. Is it had a massive impact on everything with music, hasn't it? But I do think that it's understated how impactful this band is.
Understated in that sense, and also in the playing, in the singing, in everything. I think it's a very understated album.
Yes.
You know, there's not really any too much showiness, and then you walk away and you probably realise how technical everything is, but that isn't shown in your face too much. You feel like, oh my god, I could pick up a guitar and go away and learn that.
But I think as well, like if we go back to the whole point of this, you know, this discussion that we're having with 2001 music, we both looked at albums that we discussed around there. The White Stripes is probably the only thing that's as close.
And I think again it had that rawness.
Yeah.
That sound, that energy.
You would probably say this year for music from what I've researched, you've researched, the rest of the probably best albums are so different. You know, got that electronic vibe.
Yeah, and I think that's why, you know, hip hop, again, we mentioned, quickly touched on Blueprint, new metal, we touched on Linkin Park, and there's just so much going on. And I think us growing up, and I know you were the same, is like, we used to watch music channels a lot and stuff, and like, there'd be so much on every channel that you'd flick to, and it would be a slightly different genre, you know, and it would just.
But I think this album in particular has kept, like, we'll do more generic rather than indie. It's kept rock alive, and you know the White Stripes has. But I think global impact. This album, without this album, I think music, because I think we're struggling with guitar bands in this day and age, aren't we? I think we're struggling with, you know, the next Arctic Monkeys or whoever to come out.
Yeah, and I guess that's the point. To be honest, I don't, you know, have my ear to the ground as much, and I'm not listening.
But there's a reason for that.
There is a reason, and I think, you know, you can find people who probably know a lot more about it than us, and particular scenes, and, you know, there's people who will go, oh, well, this is happening in Leeds and stuff, but I am a pop, you know, I love my guitar music, but I am a pop fan. So I think when a guitar band comes into that realm, delivers what they're delivering on an indie scale, but it's touching people in the pop element, then you've hit the perfect album. You've hit the ground running like this has. Yeah,
no, definitely, and I think that's. I just think I was pleasantly. I was quite shocked that there weren't more rock and indie albums that I could really pick from this year.
Yeah, but I also think that's good, isn't it? It's showing a different. It's quite a diverse.
Yeah, and it's probably had a good impact on music, but I do think it reinforces that without albums like this, what does it mean for the next generation of 16-year-olds coming in the music scene?
We could have a whole discussion around this, so I'll keep it brief. But is an album as important as it once was? Do you know what I mean?
It's probably not, is it?
I don't think it is at all.
Like you say, we don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but I do think, and I know vinyl's popular again now, but I feel like it's more popular to probably buy rather than necessarily listen.
Yeah, popular to buy, and if you look at our record collections, like, you know, we're into it now. We're not going out every week buying a new.
We're not buying the new bands out.
We're buying the classic albums.
Though I did get Regan Olivia Dean's album.
Okay.
That's as far as
a brick school girl.
I don't actually know, but I'd put a bet on that maybe.
Yeah, probably. So what you can take away from this is, I don't know. We like. I was gonna say we're Britpop haters and Rich Kid haters, but we picked an album by.
Okay, no. Let's just reinforce that this album is brilliant, and what we're trying to say is the impact I think it had on music. You know, Arctic Monkeys. I think getting the American rock scene, big influence in the UK, because I think as much as the Libertines probably had their influences from, you know, our bands and stuff like the Clash and stuff and stuff like that, clearly to be heard, but I think without this album, it probably doesn't become the popular consensus choice for people who listen to music as much.
Yeah, definitely.
I think this wets the whistle very much, and it's a brilliant album. And, you know, the White Blood Cells is a great album, but I think this for me is the defining album of 2001.
I'd agree with that.
And you'd agree. So I guess we'll end it there.
We'll end it on that note.
Well, there you go. Thanks for listening, everyone. If there is everyone, it might just be Regan. Like we said. Maybe Beth as well.
Beth, who's my fiance. Now I felt like as soon as you mentioned Regan, I'd have to mention her.
Yeah, you did.
We'll give her an honourable mention at the end. Oh my god, stumbled over that.
But no, thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.